this is the worst segment of advice we've ever given, and it's saying a lot.
And then my advice is that I just got back from holiday, and I'm a day late for my shot. So I'm like the loser.
You got to catch up, man. You have to take 2, to build it back up.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Myself, Big Ron Partlow, of course, Dusty Hanshaw, and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Yes, ring the bell. Dusty, you would have made an amazing drummer. And
timing.
Yes, exactly. And remember, IamMutant.com. Mutant showing me and Dusty love for a very long time, and now showing Scott love and showing the show love. And they're supporting us and love what we do and don't ask us to really do anything except send you to IamMutant.com. That's all you got to do. Go to IamMutant.com, get your ISO Surge, the most delicious protein ever. Get the chocolate peanut butter. It's my favorite protein ever made. Get the all in, and everyone should get on.
Everyone.
I just bought some Madness out of my own money. I picked up some Madness the other day because I have like a bunch of citrulline. So Madness is like the pared down version. All in has like all the
All in
citrulline,
has the pump stuff too.
Yeah. So I have all that stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get Madness
so
and I'll throw that stuff in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like Adderall. That shit's strong. Strong. Well, we got to mention, too, real quick on Mutant, so everyone's ready.
And the codes. Dusty20, Big Ron 20. Get your 20% off.
There's some new gear dropping soon, and I just got a particular bag in the mail that I can't go into too much detail on.
Oh.
But it's not very often that a bag comes into my house, and everyone wants one, and I have to say no.
No kidding.
Yeah. I was like, we went 4 for 4 on everyone wants this bag. So when you see us start talking about a bag, which will be October 1st.
Okay.
By then, because they'll be gone. They're going to be gone really quick. I could just tell. I was like, oh, these are going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
So heads up. Heads up for those of you watching.
There you go. That was genuine, and I had no idea Dusty even knew that information. So there you go.
So you knew about the bag.
Right.
Yeah, but that's because I just realized I was away on holiday, so I haven't opened my box yet. I didn't know what was in it.
Okay.
So now I know what they sent me because Dusty told me what was in his box.
Yeah, 4 of them. 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Be greedy.
So, and also thanks to Patreon. All those
thank you guys.
Kick-ass people on Patreon. Thank you very much. The Patreon is very much appreciated. It keeps a producer homed.
Yes.
And and also we get a lot of good stuff from the Patreon people. They send questions and stuff. We try to always make sure we prioritize that stuff for them too.
Yeah, I think we have a couple today, as a matter of fact. Thank you everybody, because it is a huge help. And honestly, Patreon is more value financially to me at this point than YouTube revenue is, because YouTube's demonetizing all the stuff again. But I feel more confident. Like, I don't feel as bummed about it, because it's like I'm still actually able to pay the bills with this, thanks to Patreon. Yeah. So thank you guys.
We need you homed. Yeah. We do.
Yeah. Homed and interneted.
Yes.
Okay. So we had we sort of decided on a lead topic just out of like the questions that we had, didn't we, Scott?
Yeah. This is Paige, actually, and IFBB Pro Paige. She is
there we go.
Also part of the Patreon. I know you guys have met her a couple of times. I met her at the Olympia last year. And I thought this is something you guys could both relate to, because we've kind of talked about this in the past, but we haven't gotten into the specifics. As coaches, how do you guys get your clients to try more weight in the gym when you can tell that they don't try, that they need to use more weight, basically? And she says especially females. And what's the best way to communicate this efficiently, being serious yet not being an a-hole? Dusty. Oh, she didn't write Dusty.
But she meant it.
We knew.
Thanks, Paige. Appreciate that. So she's asking you, Ron, what would you do first?
Well, I mean, Jordan Peters has that phrase, touch new weights. And I will admit, I think I worded it differently previous to that. But then once Jordan said that, I think that's just how I word it now. I tell people that all the time. Touch some new weights. Like if I see videos and I think there's, like we talked about this before, there's almost a for a certain level of bodybuilder, okay, I'm not talking about the extremely advanced who's moving massive poundages, but for a certain level of bodybuilder, there is such thing as too strict. Like, like you got to dig in, you know, like, yeah, you do those perfect, like 8 reps, but then you can get a couple more with, like, you know, the old John Meadows rule, 5 to 10% form breakage is actually what he considers failure. So depending on the exercise, 5 to 10% of your form altering, that's when he then shuts it down. Because, you know, there's that, like, you got to grit through a couple of reps. And sometimes you see that that's not happening. Like, they're doing perfect form on, say, a pull down. But as soon as there's that like with absolutely perfect form, they'll stop the set and they're like, I'm training to failure. It's like, well, technically you are, but you could have got a couple more reps and they would have done you some good. And, you know, you're their weights aren't that big yet. There's, you know what I mean? That sort of level. You can, I don't know. I think it's important that people just like just really, really train hard. Like, you've got to really apply yourself. Your weights aren't huge yet. There's no risk in a lot of ways. Like there's just a different world. It's not like, you know that the bigger and stronger you get, you know, obviously the more careful you have to be with every little thing. But I just think a lot of people aren't kind of gritting out enough reps.
Yeah.
I was going to add that we got to remember, we're not powerlifting. So you're not doing one rep. And this is something that even now, Ron, with the adjustments you helped me make years ago, as far as increasing the reps and everything, you know, like, well, I'm not going to get none. So let me see, like, maybe you bump up, like you said, you're doing a pull down and you bump up a little too high and you only get 7 good reps and you were thinking 12. Well, that's fine. Like, you didn't get hurt, but you got to kind of find that line to know where it is. I think we all act like if it doesn't go flawlessly, we die. Like, you just need to kind of feel it out. And I've had a couple occasions recently where I've done that. I had a guy at the gym one day. I've been watching him. He's doing his leg presses, and I kind of see the same thing. And he says, "Yeah, I'm going for 15." And I said, "All right." So he puts his heads down and he slides his knee sleeves on, and I give a nod over to a friend of mine, and we both add a plate when he wasn't looking. And then we pushed him through 17 reps.
Yeah.
And he stood up and he's like, "Man, that's the best I've done in a while." I said, "Yeah, plus there was 90 more pounds on there." And he was like,
he didn't know. Know.
No idea. So we got 2 more reps than he thought he was going to get, and we added 90 pounds.
Holy crap.
If I'd have showed him the 90 pounds, he got 10.
Yeah.
And that's the thing people have to realize, is that brain, that connection. Like, you can do this. So you got to get that in your mind as you're creeping up. Like, it's okay to go for 15 and truly miss at 9 because you didn't have them. But a lot of times we let our minds go, "I can't do that." You know, I did that to Nikki too the other day, Ron, because we adjusted her laterals to really make sure she's hitting the delts. And now she's really particular about the weight and wanting to do it obviously well. So the other day she was like, "Yeah, just the 20s." And I said, "Okay, cool." And I brought them over to her. I handed them to her. She strapped in and she nailed them. I'm like, "That looked good." And she goes, "Yeah, it was great." I said, "Those were 25s.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like sometimes you just have, and now she knows, okay, I can do 25 clean, you know, so play with those thoughts in your mind. Cause I really think the biggest thing for people to focus on is intensity first off, not just weight, but understanding that if you're going into the gym and doing the same thing every day, the same weights, the same reps, and the diet's the same and everything's the same, there's no reason for your body to grow.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
You got to lean into things. You know, you got to lean into things. You got to touch some new weights. You got to, like, you know, I know, especially more female, they don't do the 6 rep stuff, you know? And I'm like, some 6s aren't going to hurt you. They're going to probably be good for you. Don't be afraid to, like, move that pin down 3 more plates and get down in that zone and just see how it feels, you know?
Yeah.
It's totally safe.
It's something we're always redefining too, like what that intensity is, what failure is. And I was just telling somebody, one of my guys that I work with, either this morning or yesterday. It's all blurring together now. But in 6 months, we just started working together, and in 6 months, his definition of an intense set is going to be different than it is right now.
Yeah.
And it's something we can keep redefining, because even in my 40s now, I can still continue to redefine that, 2 years ago, what a really intense set looks different than it does now. And it reminds me too of one thing to consider, I guess, that I was talking about that with Dave Tate when I was on his show a while back. And he had said, well, keep in mind that when you're new, he said there's 2 different types of failure. There's the failure that an advanced guy knows, where he's failing in the muscle. And then there's the failure that the new guy knows, and that's where he's just trying to literally use everything in his body. It does take time to figure that out, like how to really, pull with the back, pull with the lats. But as you figure that out, I think that it's really, you don't have to pile on a ton of weight, like you guys said. Just adding a little bit, just adding a small amount, go up 1 plate. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
To do, I mean, Jordan, he's used the 2.5s. Dusty, you're a DC guy from way back. Wow. Didn't you guys all use the 1.25s and stuff like that?
I haven't had 1 pound magnetic weights that I used to use for because for example, like a dumbbell curl, I can't go up 5 pounds and still be you know what I mean? If you're curling a 45 or a 50 and you get to the top end of rep range, you just go 55 with the same form. Yeah, that's an enormous jump for one arm, And I'm glad you asked that, because that's a thing that blows my mind. Even in the gym, just every day, you watch people. It's like they don't think the 5s, 10s exist. It's either a quarter or a plate. And I'm like, that's enormous.
A lot. Yeah,
we used to use the 2.5s all the time.
Yeah,
I used to joke that the 1 1/4s were just for the seated calf raise, like to space the plates. But the 2.5s, we use those all the time, because you watch Blood and Guts, you watch Dorian's video, and they're using you got the little 2.5s over top of the 10s, and he talked about that all the time. That was part of Yates' training, was like using those little plates and keeping track of them, and we use that stuff.
The metal clips that just like you squeeze and slide them on. I used to tell Tommy that sometimes, like I'd be doing deads. I'm like, you know what? Throw 2 clips on each side. I feel good.
A couple clips. Let's go up a clip.
Yeah.
8 plates aside and 2 clips.
Get this party started. Yeah. Last week, 1 clip, and then write that in the caption: 2 clips, 8 plates, 2 clips.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 2 girls, 1 cup.
Do not Google that.
That's still a thing. I don't know.
Oh, God.
Maybe that could be our next watch party.
Yeah. I think everybody's so desensitized on the internet nowadays. It's like, that's nothing.
Yeah, like back then that was a big deal, and now it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw that in my feed earlier. Yeah. Right.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, man. Terrible. Okay, and enough about ice cream. What would that have been? The hits of the what year would that have been? 2010,
90s, right? Is that? No, come on, is that new?
Yeah, that was
it's like a video. Come on,
I feel like it's like jammed into my soul when I was a child. Like
no, that's an adult trauma.
Yeah,
that's everything changed after that, because everyone tricked you into doing it when you didn't know, and you're like, oh, okay, ding,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
okay.
That
explains a lot.
What were we talking about? We got a little sidetracked where we are. That was completely my fault.
Scott, bring us back in. Scott, bring us back in.
Yeah, we had a bunch of stuff, but before we started the show, Dusty, you started. We have to divulge what you were talking about before the show.
Oh yeah,
you gotta tell the people. We're going off format here. This isn't a listener question.
We're just winging it. Yeah, this
is important information.
I'm only caring because Scott has a story to help me with. So, I started my first cycle since the coma. It's before the coma, and I'm 4 doses. I'm trying to be careful with my words here.
That's good. You're doing real good. I mean, we did the whole 2 girls, 1 cup thing and all that, but
we didn't say what it was. Just 2 kids sharing a beverage. Anyways,
I like ice cream.
Yeah. I started that. I'm 4 doses in, And today was the first time, because I guess it's just been so long, that I remembered what it does mentally. And I'm not talking about anger or, I just remember, like I was telling the guys, I was getting ready to do my warm-up set of decline dumbbell skull crushers, 35 pounds each hand. It's nothing. Yeah. Lean back. I start moving and I realize, like, I am so locked in on what I'm doing and what I'm feeling. It was like I was preparing for the heaviest skull crushers I've ever done in my life. And it literally hit me right where I'm like, oh, I forgot about this feeling. Like, because I can't speak for anyone else, I kind of go through the motions on those. I mean, in warm-ups, you're moving your body and like thinking, but I'm never like really contracting. And I got up and I was like, oh, I forgot.
Well, it's so light for you. It almost doesn't activate your tricep.
Yeah, it's a lot of mental focus, but I was excited enough that I stood up and I told Nikki, I was like, oh, it's in now. And she goes, oh, you feel something? I'm like, no, you think?
You know the primos kick in when the 35s get light.
Oh God, yeah. I was excited. I was like, this is fantastic, because you do forget about that. And I've never been a huge buyer in on the get drastically stronger. I just add reps to the same weights when I'm on or off. So it was really like the mental connection, just being like locked in. And by the way, I train in like a big box gym, so it's hard to do there.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you taking? You can't just say you started your first cycle since the coma.
Yeah. How many grams?
I've got great 100 grams.
How many grams?
No, I'm taking 750 test.
Okay.
I'm taking 300 master, and I just did 500 of the primo.
Nice.
So I'm taking a nice, and this will throw you guys off, I'm trying to lose weight at the same time. I just want to get a little leaner. So I'm shooting for 270 by the Olympia.
Okay.
And so 270 jacked.
We'll see how much jacked is left in the old guy, but 270, yes.
Okay. I'm predicting right now that you are visibly different. Like by the time, like I'm talking like, oh shit, Dusty grew. Like by the time, from the last time I saw you would have been the Arnold, right? So if I see you at the Olympia, then I'm going to predict now that it'll be like dramatically different.
It better be, because I'm actually like, I stepped on the scale this morning. I was 283. I was like 13 pounds. I don't care if I got to do extra cardio.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I still have my day. So like, Saturday, we won't talk about how that probably affects the weight. You can't have 5 cheat meals in a day. So I might bring that down to 2 this weekend.
Right.
But yes, so that's the plan. So hopefully I look the way that, you know what it is? I just want to look like shoulders back. One thing about A, the tattoos, and B, just being heavy is like, I love capped shoulders. And right now I have like,
they're in there.
I think there's a shoulder under there somewhere.
They're in there.
Like the shoulder and the tricep and all is just one.
So you just want to like melon out on the delts.
Yes. Okay. When in doubt, I'll just SEO the hell out of them the night before. Anyways,
there you go.
See Olympia.
It's give me your story, Scott, because the only reason I told this was so you could tell me about this.
Well, so it's funny you should say this. So this was maybe about 3-4 weeks ago now. I fell into a bunch of cod. Somebody gave me a bunch of cod that they couldn't eat. It wasn't on their diet anymore. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm eating fish for a while. And instantly, the first time I made it, I cooked up a bunch of rice. And my diet has been like, I make sure I get carbs in. I make sure I get protein in. It might be like, like some taco seasoning on some ground turkey, and then I'll throw that in a pita or something like a tortilla or something. Like, there's 30 grams of carbs, 30 grams of protein. I'll call this a meal. Like, that's literally been my life for the past couple of years. And at best, trying to maybe just like keep the food up, feeling like, I don't want to lose muscle. So I try to just eat and haven't really been in any type of a deficit. So the second I started eating this fish, I was like, oh man, I'm getting hungry. Like an hour later, I'm hungry, It's a good feeling. It's like, I forgot about being hungry. I wonder if maybe I just eat fish for the next meal too, And so I got kind of fired up to do some dieting. And then
Love it.
maybe 2 weeks into that, I have this bottle of injectable D-bol. It's been in my drawer for about...
It's been 1987.
Yeah.
From Tijuana from 87.
I don't go that far back. I don't go that far back.
Said you had like, a grand piano or something like it's just like a thing that just
Lay it around.
It's, old bodybuilder supplies. It was from back in the day. And that was my favorite compound, too. And every once in a while, I'd take the vial out, and I'd remember the good times, and I'd, put it back and forget about it for the next year and a half. So I pulled it out, and I was like, oh, this is starting to crash a little bit. I was like, I wonder if I could bring that back by putting it in a cup of hot water. So I do that.
Shooting it.
So I do that, put it in the cup of hot water. 2 minutes later, I'm like, yep, it's back. It's perfect.
Fuck, it looks good as new.
And that's exactly what I said. So the next step was like, you know what? Why don't I take 25 milligrams before I work out here? That's what I did. And guess what? Instantly, because it's in your system instantly, I felt a pump that I haven't felt in a long time. Like, I'm telling you, like, my hands were pumped. My forearms were pumped. Just freaking holding the bar. Everything was like, damn. And it was that same thing where I'm like, I forgot all about this because it's been a while. It's been like a couple of years plus since I had been on cycle of any type. So that's it. I'm running 25 D-bol on workout days only. So it's like 4 or 5.
Crazy blast.
I'm getting pretty consistent with the training, and I've got my split rolling. I'm pretty happy with it. And yeah, my goal is just to lose fat and maintain muscle. But I think I'm growing in the process because I hadn't taken anything in a long time. So being hungry, I'm eating more. You know what I mean? Because like I'm not missing meals now.
Yeah.
So what year is that made? It's not actually like a Mexican bottle. It's like
no. Yeah, it would have been from like 2000. It's 10 years old at least. Like at least. Yeah. Put it this way, it said it expired like in 2019 or something.
Oh no, it's still good.
Oh yeah.
D-bol's a very stable molecule.
Yeah.
Oh
and it basically, purifies itself.
Do not listen to this at home, people.
Yeah, it's like plutonium. Its half-life is like just like 20,000 years on the shelf.
Listen, if it's a little weaker, which could happen over time, if I'm still getting 20, that's all I need.
I think it's like those old lemon Barbadians in The Wolf of Wall Street. Remember that old lemon that he gets out of the safe, and it hits so hard because it's so old. No. I think that's what happens to D-bol.
It just ages and gets better. It's like a fine wine.
Oh, yeah.
I just love.
Wait till week 4.
I love this how this worked though. He's like, I'll have a little fish. I'm feeling kind of hungry. I should take some drugs.
So really, you're saying white fish is a gateway to being
pretty much
D-bol. Okay,
pretty much. It is.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense. This is the worst segment of advice we've ever given, and it's saying a lot.
And then my advice is that I just got back from holiday, and I'm a day late for my shot. So I'm like the loser.
You got to catch up, man. You got to take. Now you have to take 2, to build it back up.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I like this. Yeah.
You front load your TRT.
Why aren't you on the same wavelength? I mean, Scott and I didn't talk about this. I literally
We just knew.
When girls spend enough time together and their cycles line up.
Yeah,
right.
Dusty and my cycle lined up.
Yeah, their cycles lined up.
That's why Scott had the desire. It was like right after it hit me. I was like, first shot, wiped it off, and Scott was like, I should do some injectable D-bol.
He's like 1,000 miles away.
Yeah. You know what I need to do? He was asleep. Victoria's like, what are you doing? He's like, I got to take a shot.
Got in the middle of the night, take a shot. D-bol.
Yeah. Dusty just took Primo.
Oh, yes. Good times.
When you see me at the Olympia, I will probably be noticeably lighter and a bit leaner.
How's that possible?
I don't know if leaner's possible.
Yeah, right?
To be honest with you.
I don't know, man. The other day, I took a little video. I should actually send it. I just don't like sending videos of me shirtless to my male friends. So it's not something I do. But I took a video in the mirror, and I was just like, I came in from a ride the other day and took my shirt off. And I drink a lot of like EAAs with salt in it while I'm riding, to stay hydrated. Yeah. So I probably drank 2 liters of that while I was riding. And I sweat, came in and I took my shirt off. I was walking around the condo. And Emily was like, Jesus. And then I looked in the mirror and I had 1,000 veins.
Hell yeah.
1,000. Thousands and thousands of capillaries just everywhere, completely covering my entire surface of my body.
I love that feeling.
I was like,
great.
fuck, I don't know if I ever, like, my glutes aren't striated because I don't have the muscle and I still got some fat on me. But just this, no water, I don't know if I was that vascular when I was like huge.
Huh.
Like I'm as vascular as I ever was.
Yeah.
Which is like funny because you think vascularity comes from like being on gear, you know?
No,
but I just think like all those veins are still there. Like when I look at the pictures of me like big and veiny, I look at where the veins are, they're still all there. Like I can see all the same veins. So, but now I'm smaller, so they almost look closer together.
Yeah.
The surface area has changed. That makes sense.
Freakier looking. It's funny.
Yeah.
That's freaking.
I don't know.
It's funny how this all evolves though, for real, because you spend so much time where it's your I mean, when you were bodybuilding, your biggest focus in life was bodybuilding. At least mine was
trying to be freakier.
How do I get bigger? How do I get bigger? So when you
like
take some
accidentally
time
look
off,
freaky.
Yeah, I did. I accidentally look fat. When you do, so that's the cure for anybody who thinks that they're like clicking along. I did it knowing. I was like, I'm gonna take a picture because the mirror is nice to you. You need to see it. You take a picture. You go, all right, we gotta go. And it's just because I don't think my body fat is higher than it used to get in the off season all the time. But when you're not 295 with muscle everywhere, it don't look the same. It's not nice to you. You're like, ooh, that's not a. I'm looking at Nikki like, you should have said something. That's disgusting. Oh man, taking one for the team.
You were letting me walk around looking like that.
Oh, I mean, funny. Yeah, it's rough. So, especially with, Ron here, inside out all the time. I'm like,
right. Yeah.
And not that I have any desire. I have no desire to get like that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing of that there, but geez, you can't just be like, we're yin and yang currently. So, funny. But yeah, so if anybody wants to know, that's the one thing that I guess I forgot about was that the mental lock that takes place when you're rolling. I'm like, okay, and this is just beginning, so the next few weeks should be a lot of fun.
You know what's interesting too, that mental side is when I talked to Dr. Mike Miltek, the neuroscientist, and we talked all about dopamine, what the way I understood it is that focus that you get and that satisfaction that you get, that's related to dopamine. That testosterone has literally a direct relationship to dopamine. When testosterone goes up, dopamine goes up. So if you take any anabolics, your dopamine levels are going up, and that's what gives you. We all associate like that drive with being on the hormone, but it really comes down to having increased the dopamine, which I find that fascinating.
Oh, for sure. Plus, I think the drastic thing is when you're kind of going on and off during your time as a bodybuilder, you don't really notice it as much because you weren't gone very long. You know what I mean?
No, that's what the way I feel.
This was very shocking. I was like, whoa. Like,
me too.
It's like I went into the gym thinking anything. It's literally been 2 weeks. And I'm like, I miss this. I don't remember even having this. But so now the only way to get it again, I guess, is to take another couple of years off and try it down the line. Every few years, just do something to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ron. Get in the game, buddy.
I know.
You'd be shredded and jacked, dude.
No, I broke my scale, so I have to get a new scale, so I don't actually know what I weigh. So I ordered one, and it should arrive soon. So we'll see.
A gym.
Yeah, but I mean my morning weight. You need like that.
You got to have the morning weight.
Yeah, not have the morning weight. Yeah.
I don't like the morning weight currently. I'm like, how's that still 283? The hell? What else we got, Scott?
Okay. Yeah, what's next?
We had a bunch of stuff. We had
firearm.
Yeah, all right. I'll just pull from the top here. Okay, what about this one? Somebody says, Scott, can you please ask this question to all of the guests? I think he means like the co-hosts and hosts on all of the shows. Why are most of the top pros these days, why do they have zero hair shedding issues? What have they discovered? Almost everyone has a full set of hair. Everyone, in all caps.
Huh. I don't know if that's actually a fact.
I don't know either.
But let's just pretend it is. And I would say that people are just smarter now with understanding like DHT and its relationship to male pattern baldness. They have more ways of controlling DHT.
Yeah.
You can actually take DHT blockers. Also, too, there's like other ways that can help control DHT, like various things you can do with your nutrition and stuff to try to minimize that. And then also, there's just more options for drugs. Like, back in the day, if like you wanted to do a show, you had to get a bottle of Winnie, but like maybe Winnie makes your hair fall out. So now guys are using something else, it's just people getting smarter. And also too, like I know lots of guys that have gone and got their hair fixed.
Oh yeah.
I
know somebody did that.
Way cheaper, way easier to do. Guys go to Europe and get, I don't know what they're exactly doing, some kind of hair transplant thing going on. And they're way better at it too. So that's also a thing.
Okay.
I think you nailed everything currently. The only thing I would add is watch every one of these pros, all caps, in 6 years. Because there are guys that had full heads of hair as we were coming up, and then as they were pros, and now, I can visibly see it thinning as the game has went on. For me, it was really simple. On my mother's side, her dad was completely bald, like he shaved his head. So I already knew what was going to happen. I didn't even bother. I was like, I'm going bald either way, so I'm not even going to think about it. Like
got ahead of it, huh?
I understood. I was like, well, I probably just get there quicker, but I'm getting bald anyways. Right. Yeah. So because I had a ton of hair, but it wasn't really a thought either. That's a question I get asked all the time on my Q&As, literally. Would you rather be jacked or have a whole head of hair? I'm like, didn't I already make that choice?
Right.
That choice was made, sir.
Yeah.
I never had a problem. I had like a full head of hair the entire time I competed and didn't have a problem at all. I didn't start really like having like my hairline even move till I was like 40.
Yeah.
And even then I just moved enough that I was like, I'll just shave my head now.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even care. So
do that.
And it was like the same. Way. Yeah.
Don't be a guy that hangs on for. I feel bad for those guys. Like I want to walk over and be like, "It's time, bro. It's time."
We got to
shave it. It just moved back enough on me that I was like, okay, whatever. But I was already in my 40s, so I didn't even care, and it was already done bodybuilding.
You could have done it sooner because the smaller your head looks, the wider your shoulders look. Could have helped you.
I did shave my head for an early show. I have a few pictures of me with a shaved head on stage. Yeah. I was like 22. Yeah.
I forgot the only thing that ever bothered me I'm secure in every part of my weirdness that I am. But when I had a bald spot, and I had already shaved my head, but you could see it as soon as hair grew in. It's the only thing that ever bothered me in my entire life where I was like, oh, I hate this. Yeah. Nobody else cares, but it bothered me. And that's why I got the tattoo done. It literally bothered me enough. I was like, I got to get this handled. I had my friend tattoo my head. So the whole thing looks like, so as long as my hair is shaved, I've had people ask like, why do you shave your head? You have a full head of hair. I'm like, that's ink. That's ink.
Fucking looks great. I can't even I didn't even know till you told me.
Yeah, right. You told us on the show one time a while back.
I didn't have any idea. For 3 years. Didn't even notice.
Yeah, it's funny. I always list that though because
from above.
You would have known. You wouldn't have been able to see me in the past. You'd have been looking away.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny because I've never cared about any. I had no insecurities. I didn't even like to take I'd be in my house with a hat on. I'm like, gotta go out get the garbage. We put my hat on. I don't want the neighbors to see the bald guy. It drove me nuts. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? No one cares but me, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
We had a question a while ago, and I said in our last Q&A we were gonna do it, and I totally forgot. Perfect timing though. We had somebody ask. They asked Ron, but in the past somebody asked you, Dusty, what do you guys do for shaving your head? Like, what do you use?
Oh yeah, Well, I just got that pit bull. So a little plug for the pit bull. Yeah, it's like a handheld, like electric razor.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's one of the guys that like go in your palm.
Like it's like electric razor, but you hold it in your palm, and it's just really easy to use on your head. I just started using it. I was just clippering before, but now I'm trying to like keep it cleaner and treat it like a hairstyle.
Same thing.
Do you?
Yeah, it's called a skull shaver, I think, is the brand of this one. It's all the same thing though, and they are awesome. Plus, what I love about it versus using trimmers, it pulls all the hair in, so you don't make a mess. And then all you gotta do is pop the little thing off. Yeah. Clean the hair out and you're done, because that's a thing. If any of you guys that have ever shaved your head with trimmers, like you got to clean your whole house. 10,000 square feet. Your house has hair everywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, I used to get done and I would just look in the bathroom. I'm like, how is this possible?
I would always stand in the shower. I would stand in the shower and do it.
Yeah. See, I had the prior to the one blade, I had the ones that plugged into the wall. So I'm like sitting there just firing hair everywhere. And actually, I think Nikki got tired of cleaning up after me because she bought me the skull shaver.
Yeah.
It's like a $200 gift. She's like, I got you this. I'm like, you got you that. Nice try.
Yeah. But you're not going to nick yourself with that. I know that like with clippers, you can like end up with like a scratch here and there sometimes.
Yeah, those things are great. Anybody who thinks about it, jump, get one.
Use code THINK. No, we don't have that.
We don't have a code.
They should have a code after all this sales. We just
free plug.
All right. What about this one? So, gentlemen, discussion for the next show, not including the ones that you have been to. You each have an opportunity to go to 3 Mr. Olympia Finals from the past. And from its very beginning to present day. Which 3 finals are you going to go to and why?
First, what's the first? Was 92 when Dorian took second or when he won?
91, he took second. Haney's
91 Olympia. I want to go to that.
See Haney's final win, and Dorian takes second, and Vince Taylor third.
Yeah, I want to go to that because I feel like having watched it, you could see what was going to happen. Like Dorian came out of nowhere, and we got to remember, like, this isn't Instagram time. Like, if you weren't in the mix, you had no idea who he was.
Yeah,
that guy popped on the scene and even won a round against the greatest, in my opinion, of all time. Like, I think back then, Haney was the best. I think Haney was the best until Ronnie. So, I would love to be at that one. That's my first choice.
Yeah. The guy that I've mentioned him before, my old buddy Eric, who taught me how to squat. He was like my first like bodybuilding kind of mentor, you know. The guy that was like, hey, you could squat with me, like that dude that I told you story before. He was at the 91 Olympia. It was in Florida. It was at Disney World. It was like in Orlando, I believe.
Right.
And that was where Haney won his last one. Yeah. And he was at that one. And he's got a picture of Dorian with like him and Dorian's got the blonde mullet. And
I love the mullet.
The old teal and pink tracksuit that the TARDIS that he wore. Yeah, just like
I love it.
You know, the pre Olympia champ. You know, he wasn't the champ yet, and he's got that great picture of him and Dorian. So I always remember him showing me that. Heck, he had it framed.
Yeah. We gotta get him on the show. Just tell the story. We need a 10-minute bring him on. I need to hear about this.
Yeah,
all right, Ron.
So
what's your first choice, Ron?
I would love to go see the 93 Olympia, where Dorian wins his second title, but he comes out and like crushes everyone and does that famous posing routine with the techno beat. Kind of that techno beat thing that he does. And, my first Olympia was 2002, right? So I'm just trying to think like maybe the 2000 with Ronnie and Jay.
You've been to a lot of them then.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of them, but I wasn't there in 2000 or
2001.
2001
was Ronnie and Jay.
I wasn't there in 2001 with Ronnie and Jay with that close call. So I'd say 93 to see Dorian win, 2001, and then I'd say the 98 Olympia to see
Yeah.
Ronnie win the first one, because that would have been a mind-boggling surprise for every single person in the room, which would have been interesting to experience. Because I think the closest thing I've ever seen to that type of an upset would be Roden beating Heath. Right. But with the title vacant, the amount of excitement would have been so high, because it could have been any, you know what I mean? But it was all about Flex, and it was all about Nasser. It was all about those guys, right? And so I think that would have been a killer one to go to. So I'll say 93, 98, 2001.
Yeah, 98 would have been nuts, because the difference is, even though Roden came out, there were people who thought he could do it. No one, after a ninth place finish the year before, where they're like, Ronnie might win.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I talked to Chad about that. I think he even talked to us about that. Like, he was the only person on the planet that was like, Ronnie's going to be a problem.
No kidding.
Because,
right.
You know, he had just started working with him. Ronnie had won that did he win the Toronto show or something?
He won the
Night of Champions, right?
Yep.
And he beat Levrone at the Grand Prix like the year before. So like he had done a couple of things, but it's like almost like everyone was kind of thinking, well, he had a few good things in like 10 years. Like they didn't see him doing this. You know, like it was almost like, he finally had some good showings. Yeah. He's been around forever. You know, that was almost how people thought of Ronnie winning the Night of Champions and stuff. Most people just weren't thinking about him. And Chad's like, he's going to be a fucking problem. And then he tells that story about picking up the guys from the airport. I think it was Tom Prince and Flex Wheeler. I think he picked them both, or Tom Prince and someone else. He picked them up, and he had Ronnie's photos because he had picked them up from the post office.
Okay.
Because they were mailing photos, right?
Yeah.
And he had them that Ronnie had mailed him. And he goes, these are Ronnie's photos. I got them today. And he gave them to like Tom Prince. And he told a story about Tom looking through them. And it was like a month out.
Yeah.
And he was like, holy shit. Like, what is this? And he was like, I've told everyone. He's like, I told a bunch of people, but no one believed me. And then when Tom saw the photos, and it's a great story, but yeah, that would have been a good year.
Ronnie talked about that at the Night of Champions. I wish I could remember the name, because I'm not in the story, but he talked about someone saw him at the Night of Champions, and he said, congratulations. He said, oh, thanks. And he goes, I'm talking about for the Olympia.
Oh, really?
Like,
yeah.
At the Night of Champions, somebody said, I'm talking about the Olympia, because it was between prejudging and night at the Night of Champions. And I don't know who it was, but they called this shot for the O. They were like,
yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah. You just weren't hearing it in the magazines. It was all about Flex. It was just all about Flex.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know?
How could it not be? Yeah, that was a good choice. What about you, Scott? You haven't even tossed one in here.
Man, I pulled the list up so I could see, and it is crazy when you actually look at it to see like these big chunks of time where it's like Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, like these huge blocks. Also, too, when you look back, the first Olympias from 65 to 74, the first prize was $1,000. Can you believe that?
It sounds like a second tier show now.
Yeah. $1,000. I would say, you know what? Just for the controversy of it, I would like to go to the 81 Olympia.
Oh, the 81.
Yeah. I'd like to go see Franco win and see the whole spiel that caused all the drama, because I've heard all the stories about it, you know. So I'd like to see that. And maybe like one of the early shows, like where did Sergio was 67.
Wasn't Arnold part of that? Wasn't he there?
In 80, he won when he shouldn't have, right?
Well, yeah, that's the story. But then in 81, wasn't he present too when Franco won?
Present? I don't think he didn't compete.
No, he didn't compete. But wasn't he present?
I don't know how that went.
Oh, okay. So just kind of fill the people in briefly on the story for those that don't know.
Well, from what I understand, he had gyno and he had a torn muscle. He tore his bicep doing one of the world's strongest man competitions, carrying a refrigerator. And there was no way in heck that he was supposed to win this thing, but he won. And then after that, everybody had protested, and a bunch of guys didn't compete in the Olympia the next year because they're like, oh, this whole thing's fixed and there's no way Franco should have won. But he was like the heir apparent. He was like the mini Arnold. So there was so much controversy, and I'd just like to go back and see all that. But then maybe like, what about the early days? Like, I mean, Larry Scott, I feel like I can't quite relate to that, but Sergio, like 67 through 69, like imagine what that show would have been like. Where was that at? That was in New York.
Well, you want to be careful which one you pick, because was it one of those wins against nobody?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, so like they used to hold the Olympia, like if you remember Pumping Iron, the Olympia and the Universe are like the same day.
Yeah.
Right? They would like hold the Universe, and then whoever wins the Universe can enter the Olympia.
Okay.
And it's all the guys that have won the Universe. Like that's kind of how it used to be. And I think that like they had the Universe, and then they had the Olympia, and no one entered but Sergio. I thought that was one of the years he was uncontested.
Kidding. Huh.
I'd have to Google that.
I could have taken second.
Yeah. It was your chance.
That was my opportunity if I had just been alive.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what I was going to say, though, on a separate note that I find interesting is at their peak, based on current judging standards, do I think Franco would have beaten Arnold? I mean, like, he was more complete,
like more
top
dense.
to bottom. Yeah, his legs fit his body. Like, the whole thing fit better. You know what I mean? So, like
1968, Sergio was uncontested.
Holy crap.
God, I wish I had taken second in that one.
Yeah. Nobody bothered.
That was an easy $1,000 he made that night.
I would have went and done it just to get second. All these years later, I could tell people I took second at the Olympia, and no one would know I was the only other person.
Yeah.
Would have been my best placing ever. Damn it.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. But yeah, that'd be my thought. What else do we have here? We had a bunch of stuff still. Let me see if I can pull something else up. I know Dusty, you had one too. Why don't we cover Dusty's question? Yeah, where's Dusty's question at here?
I just texted you.
Yes, here it is.
Read the right one and then the left one, though, because they come in order.
Oh, okay. The right one says, have you helped many competitive bodybuilders transition to a non-competitive, less neurotic lifestyle where they can still enjoy bodybuilding while no longer competing? And he was probably in loosening, probably like loosening up on things.
Yes. Have we done that besides ourselves?
I'm not. People kind of come to me to get real freaky. No. I have for sure. I've helped. I don't know if I've like had many people come to me with that being their main goal, or if they've sort of been my clients and then they've decided that that's the goal that they want to change to. You know what I mean?
That's what I think I've done.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's probably a lot more common to maybe I've helped someone for several shows and they're like, I want to just like,
ride a bicycle,
settle into like being like, looking good. How do I get this a lot now. How do I do what you're doing? Like, how do I balance?
Yeah.
What do I do with my diet? What are you eating? How, you know what I mean? That sort of happy medium that some people want to kind of find for another 10 years post competition.
Yeah.
You know? And, so I have a lot of people ask me that. And the funny thing is like, like I've gone through before, I don't have really a system. I just sort of like did what worked and just sort of like went by how my workouts were, just totally gauged like workout qualities and what's going on in the gym is like my number one, like what I'm doing with and what I use for all my feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, why do you do the number of sets you do? Well, because that's the number of sets I can do and not get weaker. Like if I start doing more sets in that, I actually lose reps the following workout.
Right.
It's like I can't recover. So there's like a recovery management component that is like really huge with what I have to do now. Because I'm training with a guy who's training to be bigger.
Yeah.
So you're going to train with a guy who's training to be bigger. You got to like pay attention to what's going on in your own body. And, we're not in there like talking about golf and like pumping.
Yeah, he's getting after it, and so are you.
You're getting after it, and I got to be in the zone. And so, I got to know what I can handle. There's quite often he'll do one more exercise than me on some things.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a part of it.
Do you feel like training with Braden has helped you to stay at the level you're at? You know what I mean? Because you've got somebody there that it kind of keeps you in a way accountable too to still keep pushing hard, you know?
Oh yeah, totally. Because I have a different schedule now. I have a lot of things pushing and pulling me in different directions, and I even notice, like, let's say he's gone for a week on vacation or something. I notice, like, I'll train at, like, maybe I'll train at 2:30 today, and then tomorrow I'll train at 4. Like, I get off schedule.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad. A lot of people can manage that, but it's like there's a lot of things pushing and pulling me, right? But having those workouts locked in place really anchors my week. Like, I really, I try
like
to
you
keep
said,
to it. But,
you said too, you're like locked in when you get there. You know, like you have that focus because you owe it to your training partner. You know.
Yeah, that whole thing. I gotta, like, keep up, and there's days when, like, I know there's days when he's tired, but I happen to have a good day, and he's like, he'll even say, like, I'll get out of a machine, he's like, that was a really good set. Yeah, like, he'll even say that once in a while. I still got the odd real good set in me. You know what I mean?
I would never give you that. I would never tell you that.
That's good.
Dusty's the same too. You're right, because now that Nikki's getting ready,
that's why I'm doing all this crap again, because I'm like, but what's interesting about it, and this is kind of not answering his question at all, but I missed these last few weeks, like when I start training hard again, the realization of what, like, I was going through the motions. I knew that, but they're good workouts. They're better than everyone else in the gym. So it makes it tricky though, because when you tell people, like, oh, this is not how I used to train, I think in the back of their heads, they assume you're kind of full of it. But now that it's coming along and getting more drastic and whatever, it's very obvious. I did 24 plates on the leg press the other day after doing hamstrings for 33 reps. Like, things are coming back that weren't there before. 20 plates for what I got, 40, 45 last week, because now everything's real high rep range. But when your brain clicks in, it's so much fun again. So I'm going to ride this out until April, May as well, because it's fun. As far as getting out, I think what Ron's doing is the best way. I really think you'll never, for me, especially when you start to shrinking on purpose, is there has to be something that the control is what I love about bodybuilding. Like, when people saw me in the offseason, I was fat. It was like, that wasn't an accident. That was a choice. Shredded, that's a choice. You know what I mean? Everything was a choice. Even if it was fatter than need to be because you're clean and you ate too much, that was a choice. I cannot submit to the idea, especially when you're shrinking down, to just let my body be what it's going to be. I think that keeps you sane. It's just like, no, any muscle I lost, Ron's losing, that was on purpose. But he's also in great shape. So it's, this physique is something to be I think most people would look at Ron now and be like, oh, I'd much rather look like that. Like, I was standing with him when we went to Venice, and Rob Bailey came up and was like, you look great.
Yeah.
Like, damn. Like, because it is, as your goals change, your version of great alters. I said the same thing when I saw Ian shrinking down. I'm like, he's going to look awesome.
Yeah.
You just have to really fall into that.
I think 257 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the guy who asked the question is got to get the mindset locked, which is, bodybuilding is not who you were. It was just what you did.
Yeah.
You still love to train. You still like to eat and do all these things, and you can do them. But as you trim down too, then you can enjoy life, and you don't have to eat out of a Tupperware all the time. You can go to a restaurant with your family or friends and still eat sensibly. Whereas, when you're competing, if somebody's like, oh, just come in, I'm like, sure, I'll be right in. I'd eat in the car. Yeah. I'd come inside and drink water.
Yeah.
I would say one of the things that this process has shown me, like this whole, like, downsizing process and all that stuff. And mind you, I had a lot of cemented muscle, I call it, because I trained for so long. So somebody who maybe's only been bodybuilding for 10 years might not have the same amount of permanent muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For
like
sure.
the longer you carry tissue, the more it becomes like permanent in a way.
Yeah.
So there's that factor that we don't really have the right word for, but that factor. But aside from that, this process has shown me that, and it's, I know some people probably don't understand it, but I'm like very focused on the big things. Like, it's not that I'm not detail oriented. Obviously details matter. You got to go over the details, but the minutia that people think matters is that I'm now convinced that it doesn't matter at all. Like, it's a complete waste of your time and energy to worry about some of these little things. Like, you know, like just in how I kind of experimented. Like, I didn't eat for like 4 hours post workout for like a month. Didn't lose a single rep on anything.
Right.
I was like, oh, like I just sort of repeatedly went through these little kind of like attempts to like, I'm just not going to eat breakfast for like 2 hours after I get up. I'm just going to drink, work, have some coffee, not eat. And then I'll eat breakfast 2 hours after I'm already been up. Didn't lose a rep on anything. Didn't like, you know what I mean? Like I started
for sure.
Like, it's not that we don't want structure and all that stuff. It's just that people get 5 minutes off structure and it ruins their day. And it obviously big picture, you want to do things right, but these little things, don't let them break your stride. Don't let them concern you. You're training, you're getting your food in, getting your sleep. Those are like 95% of everything you have to do are those three things.
Yeah.
And when people lose their minds over like, oh, I ran out of green beans. Doesn't matter. Just get some tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, I ran out. It doesn't matter. Just have a shake and go to bed. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah. Part of it's experience too. You know what I mean? Like, it's taken. When you're first new, you're like, you got to do it all right. And then after a while, you figure that stuff out.
Got to do it all right over long periods of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That one, I remember being that guy. Like, oh my God, I'm supposed to have chicken for meal 4 and I'm out of chicken.
Yeah.
It's like, you're supposed to have lean protein for meal 4. Figure it.
Yeah. Careful with the words there.
You know what I mean? And
Totally.
Just like all those sorts of things, like a lot of this stuff you're losing your mind over as a really obsessive bodybuilder is a complete waste of your time.
Yeah.
And you should focus on the main things. Torpedo the workout, torpedo the sleep, torpedo nailing your food volume for the day. Like, double up on a meal if you missed a meal. Like, just don't let it break your stride. Just keep going.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Like,
my advice starts with 25 milligrams of D-ball.
As soon as you sense that your friend took some.
Injectable.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be.
It's got to be 30 years old. Also, it's aged like a fine wine.
Yeah.
So someone told me, I got a question for you, Scott.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, how much Winstrol does 50 milligrams orally a day equal if you use injectable Winstrol?
I don't know, but I wouldn't take it, especially if it was water-based. You know what I mean? Maybe it was oil-based, but I have no idea.
This tricep, it's still a mess.
Yeah.
So the point of the question, the point of the question was, is there a formula for converting an oral like D-ball
No, not that I know of.
Injectable dose?
Not that I know of, because I think that a lot of it would come down to everybody's individual digestion, but I have no idea.
Right.
There's got to be a difference, because I can guarantee you that 50 oral is going to be weaker than putting it directly in your bloodstream. You know what I mean? What that number is, I don't know. And apparently, I don't think we can quite measure it. I mean, I'm sure it could be measured, but that would be some pretty specific lab work that you'd have to get done. I don't know how they can do that,
Right. I remember an old school formula.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was an old school formula. So
what was it?
It was 50 milligram. Well, the example was for Winstrol. 50 milligrams a day of Winstrol is like injecting 50 every other day.
Okay.
That was the old formula. But I don't know how accurate that was. But that's what the old timers used to say. Like, oh, if you got oral D-ball, take this much. If you got injectable D-ball, half as much, half as often. Like, you need 25 every other day or something like that. You know, like, it was that sort of a formula. But again, like, no actual science to it, but that was like what guys used to say.
Yeah.
All right.
Most of the no science stuff proved to work out pretty solid. So
right.
It was all like there's no blood plasma being tested, but it was just how many reps they gained was like just the anecdotal evidence.
Feels about right. Feels about right.
All right.
That's why you eat off a square plate.
How about this one? Back issue question. It says a question for the next show. Have you guys ever dealt with lower back issues? Actually, we all have at some point or another. Anyways, LOL. If you did, what was wrong? How did it happen? And how did you work through it and ultimately overcome it? I've been dealing with pretty severe disc bulges for almost a year now. And to say it's hindered my life is an understatement, let alone training. That's the base of the question there.
I've had lots of lower back injuries.
Yeah.
All the way back to when I was like young and I was a really aggressive skier. I've hurt my back like doing everything I've ever done. I've hurt my lower back riding bikes. I've hurt my lower back skiing moguls. I've hurt my lower back in martial arts. I've hurt my lower back deadlifting, playing football. Just I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of like pop. Oh, can't walk for 2 days. Like, and then all of a sudden everything releases and you're kind of okay. And now and then a couple weeks later, you're fine. Like I've had that, like, and you know, I've had a couple MRIs on my lower back. I've never had anything wrong with my discs or anything that they've said is a problem. It's all just like stuff seizes up or something gets out of whack, you know, something freezes up on you and something goes pop and then it takes 2 days to get it to let go and you get a massage and then you're okay. So like I've had a bunch of that, but I've never had a disc actually bulge on me. Yeah. So yeah. And it was a lot of times a core imbalance. Like I remember I had a real chronic lower back problem for a while where I was physically fine, but I couldn't do anything. Like if I went to do bent over rows or stiff leg deadlifts, my back killed me, but I could like get up and run around the house and I was totally fine. And my buddy said, you got to throw your weight belt in the closet for a while. You're too belt dependent. I'd become too belt dependent, he said. And it was throwing off my core. And I can't remember exactly what he had me do, but he had me do some ab stuff and not use my belt at all. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I am using it a little too much. Like I was really big at the time. And I think I was just wearing it all the time or something. Right. And I started stiff leg deadlifting with no belt. So I went all the way back down to a plate. And then within a month of not using my belt for anything, even leg pressing, I couldn't really leg press without my belt. I'd become like dependent on it. Yeah. Wow. And so I had to like sort of drop plates off everything and just train without a belt. And within a month, all my poundages jumped up with no belt and my back was fine. And my lower back problems all went away. So that was one time. That was real crazy.
Yeah. I never had any low back problems. So you can't really help.
Says the 800-pound deadlifter.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's it's weird though, because I do think anytime I had what Ron said, I just wanted to say one more time. Anytime there was a issue, tightness, anything in my low back, I always go to your PT, go to whoever, something is off. Something's pulling from somewhere else. I think that's an area that people really mess up on. Like I was injuring my adductor very regularly at one point in my career where I got to the gym and it was no longer fun to train because I was like, please don't get hurt today. That was how I walked into legs every week, which is my favorite day. I go in there, I see it just keeps having an issue. I go see Jason, which is my PT for years. I had never seen him before. I told him what was up. He goes, oh, yeah, your ankle is just locked. Fixed my ankle, then had to work up obviously into the calf a little bit and never again. Like how that was my ankle, I had no idea. So I just learned at that moment, like, okay, always need to look at, don't just think, okay, where am I tight? Like I think sometimes when guys have a tight low back, obviously he's talking about bulging discs, but low back tightness, it's like that could be your glute, it could be your hip, it could be a lot of things. Yeah. So make sure that where the pain is coming from is actually the injury, because a lot of times it's not.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Referral pain.
Yeah.
The disc bulge, I got nothing on you. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't say anything about disc bulges, but I had a lot of back issues earlier on, to the point like I trained for, when I got serious, I trained for a couple of years and I hurt my lower back so bad that I had to take, like I trained for 2 years and then I took 6 months off. I got to a point where like I just kept getting re-hurt and I couldn't even walk at a point, like for 2 weeks. And I was like, you know what? I finally got back in the gym and I was like, I'm just going to be one of those guys who only trains upper body. Like, I guess that's all I can do. Like, no legs for me.
Right.
And eventually I got over that. But I always kept having small issues. And I also, my glutes never really developed really well. And then I finally decided one day, I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm going to grow my glutes. And a couple of the clients I worked with were bikini pros. And I was like, you know what? And they're local. I was like, hey, I'm coming to the gym with you guys. I'm going to go through one of your glute workouts and learn some shit. So I did that and I learned a bunch of glute exercises and I picked out like a couple that I liked and I just started doing them religiously. And I talked about it on the podcast too, on Bodybuilding Nerds Radio. And I was like, I'm going to do like a glute transformation, guys. And I swear to God, my glutes grew so fast because it was like I never hit them properly before.
Right.
And as a side effect, guess what? My low back became like bulletproof. So there's that. You know, it was like years of this shit.
And so then you had an imbalance.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what a lot of it comes from. There's something wrong with, something's not strong enough for something else.
Yeah,
for sure.
We had a few more. Let me see what else we had here. We wrap this thing up. There was a great comment here, if I can find that one really quick. So we were talking about feeling the muscle. If you guys remember that one.
Yeah.
Should you feel? This was my favorite comment on that episode. He said, I feel like I'm about to die on the hack squat. The feeling the quads part starts the next day.
That's fantastic. That's perfect. That's perfect.
That topic was a good one because it's all like there's so many nuances and it can mean so many different things to different levels of people and it matters what exercise you're on. And there was a lot to say about that. You know, like some people were really upset that we were like, you don't always have to feel everything, you know?
Yeah.
And some people were almost thought that we were too far their way. Like, screw the feeling people.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa. We're just talking about, you know, we're just throwing ideas around here.
Yeah.
But that kind of ties in with our opening topic a little bit. Like, you know, for a lot of people, they just have to get stronger. They have to get under put some stress on the body, get under some, like, is the bar moving from point A to point B and your form is good?
Yeah.
Okay. Stack those plates.
Yep.
Let's get going. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed.
We can worry about all the other nuance as you put on your first 50 pounds of muscle.
Right. You know? Get there first. You know?
Yeah, like as you're putting on the 50 pounds of muscle, you'll learn what's all this stuff means. But for now, get that bar going up and down and with good form. And if it looks great and the bar is moving, keep loading. So
there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Dusty, you brought this up to us on text a few weeks ago. I can't remember which episode it was, but you were like, hey, I think that episode really touched a lot of people. That, like, there was a lot of people that were like going through some stuff that commented, and this is one of those comments that we got a couple episodes ago. He said, hey guys, I wanted to say thank you for the encouragement a couple weeks ago. I made a comment about things being difficult and uncertain in my future right now. But you know what? I've been destroying these workouts since then. I cracked a smile reading what you guys had to say. Nerdy and emotional, I know. My takeaway reminder I got from you guys was perspective. My perspective is where it should be now. And he said a little bit more from there. I didn't hit the read more button. But he also mentioned, too, that he's in early recovery. So I wanted to say shout out to him. And, you know, shout out to everybody that's going through stuff. Because I can tell you what, as a fan of podcasts, long time before I ever was part of one, sometimes your podcast, man, it's like we love talking about bodybuilding, but it's more than that. It's a way like it keeps you company, gives you perspective, and it's something I can really relate to, you know?
I was really happy with a lot of the comments that we got on the Hollingshead episode.
Oh yeah.
You know, there was James always with James, you're gonna get some good stuff. You know what I mean?
sure.
Like, it's coming. And so, near the end there, he really kind of said some stuff that I noticed a lot of people commented on. And it was good. It's good to be able to offer, we come in here to have fun and we crack some jokes and, a little bit of that. But it's nice to know that we deliver the occasional, nugget of valuable, I don't know, life philosophy in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I agree. One every 6 months.
One every 6 months.
You got it. You got it for now, guys. We'll see you again in July. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's it. We're good, buddy.
That is it.
Okay.
Oh,
so
we have something else later this week,
yeah.
right? We have a.
Oh yeah.
So you guys will have a special little edition to tune into.
Yeah, yes. we're gonna have a Saturday episode for you guys. So keep your eyes peeled. Back by popular demand, and we look forward to it. So remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
And remember, IamMutant.com, IsoSurge, get your all in, and everyone should be on the gear. Okay, thanks, and remember, it's just bodybuilding.